Hey everyone. I know it has been a really, really long time since I've done a video. Um, let's just say that the year 2020 has not been the greatest for me. Since the new year, I've lost an organ. I had to have emergency gallbladder surgery. Then I would say about 4 days after I got out of the hospital, because I was in the hospital for, it was either 2 nights or 3 nights. I don't remember which it was. About 4 days after I got out of the hospital, I was on my way to, no, I was on my way back from therapy, and my car died. Like, totally 100% died. Thank you, Paisley. And there was no way to salvage the car. So then, not only did I lose a car, I lost total freedom. I felt trapped in my apartment. The only times I was getting out were like weekly. It was on appointments because I was able to, through my insurance company, do what's called reserve a ride, and they take you to and from appointments. So thankfully I was able to keep therapy. But I had two friends that were able to like take me out or bring me stuff that I needed, so I was very thankful for that. But yeah, I lost an organ, lost my car, lost my freedom. And then the Department of Health and Human Services sends me a letter telling me that I'm no longer, and neither is my son, for health insurance. And that I have to appeal it within a certain amount of time, or after March 31st, I will no longer have health insurance through the state of Michigan, and neither will my son. Now, he's covered doubly because he also has insurance under his dad. So his isn't like as much of an emergency as mine is, because, I mean, I'm in regular therapy, like mental health therapy, twice a week. And then I'm supposed to start back up at physical therapy starting tomorrow. And I'll be doing that 3 times a week. I have medications that I have to take on a daily basis that I would never be able to afford if I didn't have health insurance. I'm supposed to have a spinal nerve block done that's supposed to help with my complex regional pain syndrome. If my insurance gets pulled, I'm not going to be able to have that. The positive side on that one is I have a dear friend at Legal Aid that I email. I give her updates on just every few months. And I reached out to her after the last bad thing happened, which was a week ago on Sunday. Like this past Sunday. My mother died. Yeah, my mother died. She was in the hospital basically the whole month of February. It looked like she was getting better. She got sent to Vista Grand Villa. She was there like 2 nights. And then she got really, really sick, and they sent her to the ER. And seeing her at the ER, she already wasn't herself. They kind of had to have her, because they had a special mask on her. It wasn't the life support. It was a special mask to make sure she was, I think, breathing. I think that's what it was for. But it still wasn't a regular oxygen mask like what I've ever seen. And they kind of had to have her arms restrained so she wouldn't rip that out. And she just kept asking for my dad to help her. And then she'd say, well, what am I doing? What am I doing? She finally got moved up to intensive care, and my dad and my ex-mother-in-law and I, we left the hospital. I don't know at what time, but when we left at the hospitals here where I live, the family members get a passcode or whatever, so you can check and see how the patient is doing over the phone. Well, around 3 o'clock in the morning, I got this horrible feeling about my mom, that something was wrong. And I realized I didn't have the security code. My dad had it. And I tried calling up to the hospital and just begging them to please let me know if my mother was okay, if she was still breathing, and they wouldn't tell me. And I got transferred to like 6 different people who would not tell me. So then, I don't even think it was an hour later, I get a phone call from the hospital, and I already knew it was bad if the hospital's calling me. I just thought maybe it was my dad calling me from the hospital. It was my mom's doctor, and he had gotten the phone number from when I had called, the 45 minutes before. And thank God he did call me, because he had tried calling my dad several times, and my dad was sleeping. He had slept through the phone calls. The doctor called to tell me that they had to put my mom on life support, and that he had tried calling my dad several times, couldn't get a hold of him, but that I needed to figure out a way to get a hold of my dad, and we needed to get up there because the process had started. And at the time, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know what that statement meant. I think I kind of went into, honestly, like a state of shock. Because what I ended up having to do, because I didn't have a car, I had to call my former mother-in-law, because I tried calling my dad as well, and he didn't answer the phone, and I was in a panic. So I called my former mother-in-law, and I'm like, Gladys, you have got to come get me. This is what the doctor is saying, and, I'm angry with the doctor because I call, and I remember her asking me, why are you angry at the doctor? And I said, because I called an hour before, and they wouldn't give me any information. And she goes, Rachel, that shows how serious the situation is right now. They would have never, ever contacted you if you did not have that passcode, if it was not serious. And she basically, just told me, you need to get your clothes on, take Paisley out, I will get a hold of your dad, and I'm on my way to come get you. I don't remember getting dressed, nothing. I left Paisley here, and, which usually, she goes everywhere with me, but something in me told me it was going to be a very, very long day, and it just, I don't know, it just seemed better to do it that way. So Gladys and I get up to the ER, or the ICU. My dad's up there already, and my mom's on life support. And a lot of her friends came up. Some of them stayed throughout the entire thing. I had a friend, because I had to leave, to be totally honest, for a little bit. I had a friend come and get me out of there for a little bit. We were gone maybe 45 minutes. And the whole process took an ungodly amount of time, probably about 14 hours, from the time we got to the hospital. Yeah, it drug on all day long. My mom she didn't wake back up again. She didn't speak again. And probably the hardest thing that I had to do during that time was my former mother-in-law pulled me aside, and this was later on, maybe around 6 o'clock. And my ex-mother-in-law, Gladys, is very, very honest, and she also is a registered nurse. So she knows and she was a hospice nurse. So she knows what she's talking about in regards to death. She pulled me aside, definitely away from my dad, and said, Rachel, do you really think your mom is still here? And I knew what she meant. And I said no. Because I knew she wasn't. And she said, then you're going to have to talk to your dad. Because right now your mom's suffering. But your dad doesn't want to let her go. And you know, just as well as I do, that she's not coming back. So you need to have that conversation with your dad. Because he's the only one that can, make that final determination. So I had to pull my dad, who'd been married to her for 53 years. That was his best friend, his life partner, his soulmate, everything. I had to pull my father aside and tell him, Dad, Mom's already gone. All that we're doing to her right now is we are keeping her suffering. She's not coming back. We need to stop the life support. And quite honestly, I thought for a second he might hit me. That's how much it hurt him to hear what I said. And I said to him, do you want me to leave the room right now? Or because we were out in the hallway. And he looked right at me. He said, yes, you better leave. And probably about, 20 minutes later, he came and got me. And he told me that I was right and that we needed to talk to the doctors. So what we did, we talked to my mom's doctor, who explained as well that, my mom's suffering. And even if there was really nothing that they could do. There was nothing they could have done. So yeah, he was explaining that. And I remember saying, my personal opinion is, as much as I love my mother, we need to let her go. I don't want her to suffer anymore. And then my dad agreed. And the doctor said, asked us if we wanted to do it right then or if we wanted to wait a little bit. And, my dad and a couple of close friends that we have, because none of her family showed up, we decided we wanted to wait like an hour so we could just, kind of let it sink in just a little bit. And I went downstairs, smoked a cigarette. They ordered Andy's pizza, and I, for some reason, was absolutely starving. I ate like 3 pieces of pizza and 3 coney dogs. And then we went back in the room. I was on one side, my dad was on the other, and the few close friends that we had kind of sat in the back. I held my mom's hand the entire time. My dad just kind of stroked her hair and just looked into her eyes. And they warned us that they were taking out the tube, and I did turn my head. And then when that was all over, I turned my head back, and, she was gone probably about 10 minutes later. And I remember her last breath. But I can tell you I don't remember leaving the hospital. I was driven home, not by my dad. I don't know how my dad got home. I was driven home by somebody that was a friend of my mother's. And then, we had the whole having to go to the funeral home, do the obituary, the clothes, the flowers, finding a pastor. Oh my gosh, it was so overwhelming. And the visitation, so many people came, which was good, but again, it was very overwhelming. And then the funeral was on Saturday at 4. And I was able to read 2 scriptures at her funeral and a letter that I had written that I also put a copy of in her casket. And then because the funeral was so late in the day, we didn't bury her until Monday. So yeah, that it hasn't even been 2 weeks yet, and I'm still like trying to process all of it. And it's hard too because I keep replaying, her being in the hospital and, her last breath. So yeah, needless to say, 2020 has been a really, really messed up year, and we're only in March. The good things, I guess, that have come out of it are I'm no longer carless. My parents had 2 vehicles, and my dad gifted me their Buick, which was really, really nice. I would still trade everything, though. I'd go back to being carless to have my mom. And I guess the other good thing is, and I think this is where I was starting to go. I'm sorry, my mind is just running a million miles an hour. I'm having a real hard time. Back to the health insurance. I have a friend at Legal Aid who contacted them because I appealed the health insurance denial, and usually the state takes forever to respond to something, right? Well, they didn't. They responded right away. Just a second. They responded right away, and they wanted me to go to a pre-trial conference. It was going to be on Friday, like the day of the visitation. Well, it was able to get pushed back until Monday, which was the day I was burying my mother. Like, that is way too much. They were, like, the state was expecting me to bury my mother and then come and, deal with this stuff with the state. And the friend I have through Legal Aid contacted DHHS and was able to get it postponed, and it's not until Monday, this coming Monday at 9 a.m. So, I mean, those are the 2 good things that have come out of this, I guess. But again, I would trade it all to still have my mom back. Because I just feel like things are never going to be the same. And I don't know how to begin to heal from this. And then I've got to make sure that my dad's okay, because it's just him in that house that's just lost his best friend. And I don't know how. I'm more worried about him than I am myself. I'm really worried about him. So yeah, that's the update on my life so far. Terribly sorry about my appearance. Sorry, not sorry, honestly. I just really don't care at this point. I'll try to do more updates. I don't know how recent they'll be, like how often I'll be able to do them. The grief, it just becomes just overwhelming, and it comes out of nowhere. I mean, you know I know it's from my mom dying, but like just the littlest things. Like, I can be in the middle of a shower and bam, I just start bawling. Oh. I really hope that nothing else bad happens, because I don't know how much more, like, the human body can only take so much trauma, and again, look at everything that has happened in 2020. I can't have another bad thing happen. I can't. So anyways, I guess I will talk to y'all later. Bye.